teach how to integrate change management with Agile. Being a ProSci instructor, teach that in terms of the ProSci methodology. And one of the first things we do is define, and it's the same with organisations when we go and actually apply this, we try and define whether we're talking about Agile with a small a or Agile with a capital A. And often it's a small a. It's something we are rather than an iterative development process. It's an embedded trait or attribute within our approach to programs and projects. And that's different from Agile with a capital A, which is the iterative development approach. It's essential to define the difference between the two. What are we actually dealing with? And if we are dealing with Agile with a capital A, then the ProSci teaching that we do, based on their research, allows us to map the parallel values and attributes associated with Agile to change management. Also, crucially, the roles that we're asking sponsors, managers, champions, project teams to take mapped from standard change management into an Agile environment. So that's all there, and we teach that. And with organisations, we help them to define that and put those items in place. But it's interesting when you look at some of the research regarding Agile, and one I'm thinking of in particular is from Gartner, and it suggests that Agile has around 9% of failed projects compared with Waterfall, which has around 29% failed projects. So in the face of it, Agile seems more successful, but it depends on what we're talking about. What is it we mean by success and what kind of projects? Again, Gartner suggests that the kind of projects Agile is most successful with is where business needs are constantly changing at short notice. And it suggests that Agile has the planning mechanism to keep up with those short notice changes. And so the bottom line for change management is we adapt, because no matter what project management methodology we use, we've still got to help people through their ADCAR journey to embrace, adopt and use what's been developed. Go back to the concept, the project side, which designs, develops and deploys the technical solution, and the change management side of the equation, where we help people embrace, adopt and use it. So we still need change management, we've just got to adapt it a bit for Agile. An interesting article recently in the Harvard Business Review from two former Amazon executives, and they asked the question, have we taken Agile too far? And in answer to their question, they say, quote, Agile is too often used as an excuse to avoid careful planning and preparation. And they also say that instead of taking time for careful thinking a breakthrough product requires, teams get locked into the process of 2-week sprints, thinking in bite-sized chunks. And then they make a great point. They say Agile may seem perfectly suited for when it's developing a product or service that doesn't exist and is looking to move quickly. My question is, what happens when a product does exist, albeit in a customizable form? Is it appropriate to do Agile then? And I would say probably yes, but as evidenced by a lot of organisations, probably in that case it's not doing Agile with a capital A in terms of iterative development, but Agile with a small a. They suggest considering Amazon's approach, which is working backwards. And I read all the stuff about what they call working backwards. And ultimately, to me, it's about starting with the why. It's about detailed vision of where we're going before starting developing. So starting with a detailed vision of where we're going. And for me, that plays into the change management approach, which is to know what's going to resonate with people. How does this development that we're doing, how does this product that we're deploying specifically help end users in their daily jobs? And the implication of that is, will it be adopted? So and for me it's about starting with the why. When they say working backwards, it's starting with the vision, starting with the why, then the what, then the how. And of course that talks to something I've talked about earlier, which is ProSci's 4Ps exercise, defining the name of the project, the purpose of the project, the particulars of the project, and most importantly of all, the people, who's affected and how. This idea of working backwards that they suggest, for me, is absolutely spot on. It's starting with the why. And if we do start with the why based on what's going to help the business and what's going to specifically help end users do their job better, then we're going to be in a much better position to drive adoption. And ultimately, we know adoption is predicated on people going through their ADCAR process. And to do that, we've got to have a good view of the vision and what's in it for me. What's the lesson from this? Ultimately, whatever project management methodology you use, whether it's Agile with a capital A or a small a, you've got to make sure that people in the end adopt it. That doesn't happen, we end up contributing to the $900 billion failed digital transformations over the past few years. And there's a good way of looking at it. Tim Creasy of ProSci suggested if we don't do Agile properly, we could end up doing Wagile, which is waterfall Agile, and or Badgile. So Wagile and Badgile, copyright Tim Creasy. So let's make sure whatever we do, we still focus on change management, make sure we adapt it so that it integrates closely with whatever project management methodology we're using, which we've got to do, but the end goal remains the same. What will make people embrace, adopt and use this, because that is where our return of investment comes from. Speed of adoption, ultimate utilisation and proficiency. I hope that helped.